In this episode, I'll show you how to use a grid to highlight a face.
Adorama TV presents Exploring Photography with Mark Wallace, where you will learn innovative techniques on shooting a wide range of photography. Here's your host, Mark Wallace.
Hey everybody, welcome to Adorama TV. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, way back in episode 238 of Digital Photography One-on-One, I talked about shooting with grids, these little guys right here. And a few people wrote in and asked, hey, I've heard about a technique that you can use for using a grid specifically to illuminate somebody's face. Can you talk more about that? And absolutely we can. This is actually a technique that a lot of glamour photographers use to make a model's face really just sort of glow. And if you happen to have a model with poor complexion, you can use this same technique to sort of smooth out the skin on your subject's face. So it's a very simple technique. Let me show you how it works. Now we've got a spectacular model. Her name is Michelle. Come on out, Michelle. She's going to be helping us out today. And the way that we're going to be doing this is I'm using a very simple lighting setup. And so let me walk you through that. The very first thing we have is a light that is a fill light. Now it's this very, very large 4x6 softbox here. And what that's doing is it's illuminating Michelle's body and her face, but it's just a little bit underexposed. So it's about a half a stop underexposed, so it's not making everything pop. Then what we have to accentuate her hair, we have these two large lights right here, and these just sort of surround her with light. They highlight her hair and her arms, and that gives us that kicker light that we really like. But the key light is this light right here, and it actually has a 5-degree grid on it, and what that's doing is it's illuminating our model's face. So it's going to be right on Michelle's face and nothing else. Now to really see this, what I need to do, I'm going to hand this to you, is I'm going to turn off the modeling lights on all of our other lights. We're going to turn off our ambient light. I'm going to turn on the modeling light on this guy right here, which is really bright. And then what we need to do is I need to show you exactly how to position this light. Now, it might seem very simple. You just shine it into your subject's face, and that's how it works. But what you need to do is make sure that it's in line with where your camera is going to be. So we've positioned the video camera where my camera would normally be if I was taking pictures. And there are a few things you need to know here. The first is exactly where to put this light. Now, we positioned it in line with the camera, and that gives us a nice light on Michelle's face. Now, if I move this off, you can see behind Michelle, we have that shadow that can become really apparent if we don't keep this lined right up exactly. The other thing is, if as I'm shooting, Michelle's going to move. So your subject's going to move, so pretend like you're actually modeling. You can see that she's just stepped out of the light. And so what I will normally do when I'm shooting with this technique is I'll actually have a person on this light, and as the subject moves, go ahead and move, I'll have them follow the subject with this light itself. So as they move, this light can move as well. So sometimes I'll put this on a light stand. Sometimes I'll even just have somebody hold it, and they'll move around so that's right on your subject's face. Now, the other thing that we need to really pay attention to is the height of this light. So if we get this too low, if I have this way down here and it's illuminating up, what happens is this gives us that sort of campfire look, which we don't like. It's not very flattering. It looks like she's being illuminated by, a campfire, which is no good. And so we want to raise this up and then bring it down. And if I have it too high, what's going to happen, and we're going to zoom in here so I can show you exactly. So if I have this too high, which is what I have right now, I'll walk over here and we'll zoom in. You can see that we start to see this shadow here. And Michelle, if you lift your chin a little bit, you can see that sort of comes and goes as she moves her head up and down. So move your chin down a little bit. So you have to be really aware of how high this light is, and we'll zoom back out. So what I like to do is put this about the same height, maybe a little bit higher as my camera's lens. And so normally my lens will be about right here, just underneath this. And that way I have really flat light that really accentuates the face. And it makes it work really well. Well, now that we know how to set up our light, I want to take a few pictures and put it into practice, and so you can see what this looks like both with and without all of our different lights. And we're going to turn each of these lights on and off so you can see why we have our light set up the way we do. Well, before we start shooting, first let me show you where we're headed. Here's some pictures we already took, and you can see this first picture, this is without the face light, and it looks okay. But as soon as we turn the face light on, it really makes this photo pop, and that is what we're looking for. Now, one of the things I've learned over the years is metering a light with a grid can be tricky. So what I like to do is to make sure that I can see exactly where that light is falling. And that's difficult when you have all of your modeling lights on and your ambient light. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use my ProPhoto Air remote to turn off my modeling lights and all my lights except for the light with the grid, and we're going to turn off these ambient lights here. And so now what I can do is see clearly where this light is falling, and I can move this around to make sure it's exactly where I want it to be. Once I get it exactly where I want it to be, I can turn everything else back on and then start metering. Now when I'm metering to a light with a grid, I really need to pay attention to make sure I get a consistent result. So instead of normally I would meter underneath my model's chin, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to model right up here by the cheek and meter to make sure, because that light is falling on her face, it might not fall underneath her chin because it's so narrow. I'm going to see what that meter reading is, and I'll meter that several times, because with a grid, sometimes if you're just off axis a little bit, you might not get the same result. So you need to make sure you get the same reading several times. And what I like to do when I'm metering and setting up all of these lights is to have my fill light about one stop less than my key. And then these wraparound lights that we talked about earlier, I like to have those about the same as my key light, which is the light with the grid, and so that everything looks good. Now you can always shoot tethered or shoot with a card and put it on a computer and look and see what you have, and then adjust things to taste, which is what I've done here. Well, now that you've seen how all of these lights are set up, let me show you what they look like individually. So this first shot that I'm showing you here is just those background lights, just the surround lights. It just gives us a nice rim of light to highlight the hair and shoulders. The next light is just the fill light, and you can see this is sort of dull and underexposed. And now here is a photo of just the light in Michelle's face. And then finally, here's all of those lights put together. And then once again, a light on her face and one without. And you can see the difference with that key light, that face light really, really makes. Well, now that we know how to set everything up, we know how to position our lights, I'm going to shoot a few and show you our results. Well, there you have it, using a grid as a face light to get a really interesting look. Thanks, Michelle, for joining us today. It was a lot of fun. Now, remember, there's a lot more to learn about shooting in a studio and shooting with grids. Make sure you check out Digital Photography 1-on-1, episode 238. It's all about shooting with grids and how to use them. Also, we have a 4-part series on metering. It's Digital Photography 1-on-1, episodes 25 through 28. And specifically, episodes 26 and farther are all about how to use a light meter. And so if you're new to metering, check those out. They're all on Adorama TV, or you can just zip over to the Adorama Learning Center and read a bunch of articles, see a bunch of videos, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single thing. Well, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. And now here's the Spanish version of Exploring Photography with Mark Wallace. Exploro Fotografio. No? Today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about photography.
Hoy les vamos a decir todo lo que tienen que saber sobre fotografía.
Wow, and I thought I talked fast. Hi everybody, I'm Mark Wallace. Welcome to Adorama TV.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Esta es Michelle Magaña en Adorama TV.
Adorama TV is brought to you by Adorama, your best source for the equipment and knowledge you need. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. Place your order by 7 p.m. and it ships the same day. Plus, the next time you're in New York City, be sure to visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue. Check out the Adorama Rental Company for professional cameras, lighting, computers, and more. We'll help you make the best selection to match your needs while giving you the knowledge to achieve the best outcome from your rental. Adorama is your complete solution for equipment, printing, training, and more. Adorama, more than a camera store.